Katie Beers was born on December 30th, 1982, and spent the first 2 months of her life with her mother, Marilyn Beers, and older half-brother John Beers in Long Island, New York. Katie did not know her father, as the conception resulted from a one-night stand. Her mother abandoned her when she was 2 months old and only appeared in her life in sporadic intervals. Katie was under the care of her godmother Linda Inghilleri and her husband Salvatore. Linda had lost her left leg due to diabetes and was almost unable to move. Katie did all the housework under the strict supervision of her godmother. The girl washed the floor, cooked, did laundry, cleaned the toilet, and went to the store. Still every day she was subjected to insults and violence, and her godmother beat Katie severely. The girl was left with scars from Linda's abuse. Once she put out a cigarette in Katie's hand and completely turned a blind eye to what her husband was doing. Linda was not the main evil for Katie in this house. Salvatore, Linda's husband, was even worse than her. He sexually abused her. The girl does not even remember when it started. It was with her all her life. Linda and Salvador did not communicate with each other. They slept in different rooms. Linda realized that Katie was being sexually abused, and it made her jealous. In these terrible situations, she was angry at the girl and took out her anger to the fullest extent. Katie could not complain to anyone. She did not know who to ask for help. The girl did not even fully understand the horror she was living in. She had no friends. But seeing other children, Katie realized that their lives were different, and yet the girl didn't remember being sad or crying about it. Soon, Marilyn began to take her daughter to her place more often. Life with her mother was hungry, but at this time Katie felt safe. When her mother told her to go back to her godmother, Katie would unquestioningly return Ed to a house of violence and pain. Katie lived in a small house with crumbling plaster, broken windows, and mold on the walls. The Child Protection Service came to visit Katie a few times, but did not take any further action. The girl went to school once or twice a week, as she had no time because of the constant tasks her godmother set for her. At school, the teachers were silent and never asked her what was going on in her life. It seemed to the girl that no one cared about her. She just went on with her life. A few years after the regular abuse, Katie finally told her mother, and Salvador was charged with first-degree sexual assault, but still remained free, with only a restraining order prohibiting him from approaching the girl. After that, Salvador moved out of Linda's house, and she hated Katie and her mother Marilyn even more. Katie continued to visit her godmother's house, but much less frequently. Soon, a real friend appeared in the girl's life. His name was John Esposito. He was 43 years old. He met Marilyn first, which allowed him to take her son to visit her. Marilyn believed that her son needed a masculine upbringing. A builder, John, built a whole house over the garage, a few meters from his main house. Big John's house garage, as the locals called it, was a real toy store and amusement park for the children. It was a child's paradise, and being in John's garage was a dream for any local child. Over time, the parents of local children began to be suspicious about John, who was so desperate for children's attention. Eventually, they banned their children from talking to him altogether, a decision that also affected Marilyn. She told the children to stay away from Big John and never go to his garage again. But godmother Linda secretly let Katie go to see John without telling her mother. Katie was grateful for that. She loved playing with man. It was the best time for her. In December 1992, the neighboring houses were already decorated with garlands, and everyone was preparing for Christmas. On December 26th, Katie went to her godmother's house, and the next day, Linda wanted to throw a small party for the girl in honor of her birthday. On December 30th, Katie was going to turn 10 years old. Marilyn let her daughter go on the premise that she would return and spend her birthday at home. Katie was going to her godmother's house with mixed feelings. She didn't want to go to her, but at the same time she missed Big John very much. Linda allowed Katie to have her makeup done because she would be turning 10 years old. Katie considered herself an adult and asked her godmother to call her Catherine. "Happy birthday, Catherine." It was written on the birthday cake. It was the happiest Christmas and the happiest birthday in one day. The birthday cake was held by Big John, with whom the girl was forbidden to communicate. He appeared unexpectedly and gave Katie a Barbie house. John said he will come back the next day and help her to assemble it. Linda calmed the girl down and said, "It's okay. We won't tell Mom anything." Katie agreed. She thought he was a very kind man. The next day, John came back and asked Linda if he could pick up Katie and take her to an amusement park called Spaceplex, which was about 15 minutes away. Linda agreed. Katie leaned over to her godmother and said that her mother had made her swear never to go anywhere with him. Linda roughly jabbed her finger in the girl's face and said, "Don't worry, you'll be home in a few hours." Katie was more than happy to go with John, despite all the warnings, but she didn't return at the appointed time, and when Linda got a creepy message on her answering machine, she immediately called the police. The police went to the woman's home, and Linda told them that Katie had left a scary message on answering machine. In the message, the girl said,
"It was a man kidnapped me and he had a knife. Oh no, here he comes, I gotta go."
Katie.
Linda cried and said that 20 minutes after John and Katie were supposed to return, John called her and said he couldn't find Katie anywhere. Many police officers arrived at the Spaceplex building. Outside, they were searching trash cans, searching the woods around the building, interviewing visitors and passers-by. Big John, surrounded by police and reporters, cried and apologized for losing the girl. He said that he had known Katie for a long time. He felt sorry for Marilyn's children and just wanted to make their childhood a little better. John had already been to the amusement park 3 times with Katie, and each time she ran and hugged him when he came to get her. This time, he picked her up at 1 p.m. He took her to a toy store where he bought a Trolls doll and a video game, Home Alone. They stopped at his house garage for a while to play it. John said that Katie did not like the game and wanted to go to the Spaceplex. When they arrived, they played together for a while. Then John sent Katie alone to get tokens while he played paintball. After a few minutes, when Katie didn't return, he went looking for her, but without any luck. After 20 minutes of searching, John called Linda, and that's when he found out about the voice message from Katie. If he was lying, it was impressive. He said through tears, "I was scared. I couldn't find her. It's a big place. I ran all around. I called Linda, and then I ran to security." Katie said that a man with a knife was approaching her. She probably did not know the man. Maybe his face was covered. Who could it have been? John said he remembered an unknown man watching them, but he let the girl go alone anyway. The strangest thing was that none of the visitors saw Katie in the amusement park, and no one remembered John being there. Big John immediately became the main suspect. He had a dark past that could also indicate his involvement in Katie's disappearance. In 1977, John was accused of attempting to kidnap a child near a local shopping center. The police and journalists surrounded Big John's house, conducted thorough searches, but found nothing. He was interrogated and remained a suspect, but that was it. The second suspect was Salvatore, who had been abusing Katie for years. When he was called in for questioning, the police asked him, "Do you know where Katie is now?" "No, I have no idea," he replied. During the interrogation, Salvatore was sweating and very nervous, but he had an alibi. On December 30th, Katie would have turned 10 years old. In the photos in the news, the girl looked neat and happy, but the police began to uncover the child's sad fate. The little missing homeless girl won the hearts of an entire nation. Every day the press dug up new dirt about her martyrs and those who knew about it. Everyone saw that the child was suffering, but no one wanted to help her. After 10 days of Katie's disappearance, the press, the public, and most importantly the police were led off the track. As the police found out, the call from Katie was made from a phone booth across the street from the Spaceplex amusement park. If Katie was running away from her affronter, why did she choose this dangerous way? Why didn't she stay in the shopping center? Why didn't she run to John for help? The police searched John's house twice more, to no avail. The recording of the phone call was also turned over to the FBI, and they concluded that the call was actually recorded and played back at the petrol station in a phone booth. The FBI's conclusion was based on the absence of background noise in the recording. The recording sounded as if the girl was in a small closed room at the time, where almost no echo, as if the walls were covered with something. It looked like Katie was made to say it on a dictaphone, then the recording was played back into the phone. December 28th. 1992. Katie got into the car with Big John. He let her sit in the front seat of his Nissan pickup truck. John said that he wanted to give the girl a video game. He wanted Katie to play it first, and then they would go to the amusement park. When they arrived at John's house, the girl ran eagerly to play the new video game. John left the room and went down the stairs. When he came back, something changed in him. Katie noticed it right away. He took the girl in his arms and carried her downstairs. Katie was very scared. She asked him to let her go. John did everything in silence. When he got downstairs, he opened the door to his office and threw Katie to the floor. He had never let anyone in before. In a harsh and rough voice, John said, "I want to show you something." He began to disassemble the shelves of a wooden cabinet, which were filled with alcohol. Behind the cabinet, as it turned out, there was a secret entrance to a small dark room. On the floor was a rug and some other junk. John rolled up the rug and found a large concrete slab under it. While he was lifting it, Katie found the phone on the table. Quietly walking over to it, she called 911 and whispered quietly, "I'm on Saxon Avenue." Hearing this, John threw the girl against the wall and said, "Don't ever touch that phone again." Katie saw a black hole in the floor. The concrete slab was lifted by a special crane. It was too dark to see what was inside. John ordered to go down, and there Katie saw a small room at the end of the tunnel. In the middle of the room was a large box covered with a lid that was locked. In the corner was a toilet. On the wall were two shelves. On one of them was a monitor that showed what was happening at the entrance to the garage. All the walls were covered with egg cartons, probably for soundproofing. John opened a box and said, "Get in now. This will be your new home." Then he went upstairs to get a pillow and a blanket, leaving Katie for a few minutes. When he returned, he brought what he wanted, and he also gave the girl a bottle of soda and some chocolate bars, and told her to make an audio recording. After telling her exactly what to say into the recorder, John left her alone to do it. Katie recorded everything he said, and then after a pause, she whispered quietly, "I've been kidnapped by Big John. I'm at his house." When John returned, he picked up the recorder and played the recording, and when he got to the end for a moment, he looked at Katie and hit her in the face. It was the first time John had hit Katie. It was a completely different John than the one she adored. After that, he made the girl climb into a box, throwing a pillow and a blanket in it. The box also contained a thin mattress, handcuffs, a chain attached to the wall, and a TV. He put a collar on Katie and fastened her to the chain, closed the drawer, locked the door, and walked away. The next day, John told the girl to change into the clothes he had bought. On that day, he raped Katie for the first time, followed by a series of rapies. Some days he did it to her, and some days he would just bring Katie sweets and toys. The girl thought he had a split personality. Incredibly, the girl did not cry. She thought she had been subjected to much worse abuse from her caretakers before. On the third day, when John left Katie alone in the room, she found the key to the box, so girl could get out of it and watch what was happening outside on the monitor. Katie counted the number of steps John took to get to her, so she knew how much time she had to buckle herself in and close the box. The girl did not eat the food that John brought. She was afraid that he would poison her. She ate only waffles because they were in the package. Katie hardly slept. The girl was afraid that John would kill her while she slept. Katie watched TV all the time, the news about herself. Her pictures were in every newscast. She saw her mother crying, and Linda crying as well, despite what she did to her. But Katie still loved them very much and wanted to return home. On the TV, Katie saw a beautiful room with a crib, toys, and a rug, and the news said it was Katie's room, in Linda's house. In fact, it wasn't. The girl was sleeping on a cot where there was room. It was a lie on Linda's part to make herself look caring. Sitting on the bed, Linda told reporters that she missed Katie very much, and she is very sad that the girl was missing. Katie believed Linda. The girl was very sorry for her godmother. A few days later, the police came to John's house again. This time, the girl saw them on the monitor. She started screaming for help with all her might, but no one heard her. Helplessly, she watched them go away. Over time, John became more talkative. He spent a lot of time with Katie. Man said that when Katie turned 18, he would marry her, and they would have children. You don't have to go to college because I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. Katie. I'll take care of you forever, John said. Time passed. The days were the same, only John changed. He lost a lot of weight. His face showed no emotion. It seemed that John was slowly dying. Katie felt that he was on the verge of killing himself. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the TV. She heard Big John coming downstairs, and she had a little time to get into the box and chain herself up. But it was strange, because he never came so early. Usually John came down in the evening. When the evening news came on, he wasn't alone. Katie heard other voices. She thought they were his friends he had brought to take advantage of the girl. Opening the lid of the box, one of the men said, "We're the police. You're safe now." Katie was smiling and even seemed to be unharmed. Sitting in the car, Katie Beers leaned on the window and finally closed her eyes. John Esposito was taken to the Suffolk County Jail. He was placed under suicide watch. His prison bed was covered only with a piece of paper. In the meantime, the police brought Katie to the station, where she changed clothes and the officers began to question her about details. After many questions, the girl was taken to a children's hospital in a neighboring county. At the hospital, Katie was told that she would not be returning home, and girl cried bitterly. She missed her mom, brother, and Linda. It turned out that on January 13th, 1993, John Esposito confessed to the kidnapping through his lawyer. He led the police to the concrete Katie Beers prison, where she was held for 17 long days. John Esposito pleaded guilty on June 16, 1994, and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Salvatore Inghiller also did not escape punishment, and was sentenced to 12 years for the sexual assault of Kathy Beers. He died in prison in 2009. Barbara and Ted, a married couple with 3 children, became Katie's new guardians. They slowly won Katie's love, bit by bit. The new family worked hard with Dominic Verrain, a Suffolk County detective who led the investigation, to put not only John behind bars, but also Salvatore Inghiller. Katie's new parents also supported her older brother, who later revealed that John had also been raping him for several years. He couldn't tell anyone because he loved John more than anyone else. Katie's family decided to abstract the girl from all the media that continued to find horrific details of the innocent girl's life. It was only when she became an adult that Katie Beers decided to share the story of her difficult childhood herself. Writing her memoirs with reporter Carolyn Gusoff, entitled Buried Memories. Katie now lives in Pennsylvania with her 2 children and husband and works in the insurance industry. I try not to be sad about what happened because in the end, it made me who I am today, and I'm very happy with my life, says Katie Beers. On September 4, 2013, John Esposito was found dead in his prison cell. It appears that Esposito died of natural causes.